Okie dokie. I'm back again. I was just talking about, my workouts, yesterday after benching in the power rack, doing the overload stuff, partial rep stuff, static stuff, where you just unhook the weight and you just kind of hold it. You just hold it as long as you can. There were people next to me. And they were ready to like spot me. I was like, no, 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 no. I'm feeling the tension. I gotta have the tension. I don't want no spot. They're like, oh yeah, you are under tension. you know. It's like, yeah, that's the way I got to do it, man. I got to overload these old muscles, man. I got to bring them back to their youthhood. Their youthness. you know. Don't want that old manhood taking over. Not just yet, So anyway, yeah, after the overload in the power rack bench stuff, I went over to the wimpy hammer strength machines. Because I like to go on them also. Because that's a different angle. Because you're pressing straight, ahead as opposed to laying down. It's nice to get that other angle in. It feels pretty natural, I think. Sometimes I'll even start out with hammer strength sometimes. And then go to the free weight bench, So yeah, I was doing hammer strength. And obviously with hammer strength, it's nice and convenient. You don't have to worry about a spotter or nothing, or as is the case with the power rack. But with the power rack, after the weight comes back down, you got to get up and take a plate off each side at least to lift it back on. But like without a power rack, sometimes I'll bench, but I feel vulnerable, and I don't know if people are going to come rescue me in time if the weight just gets stuck on me, So I really much prefer to bench in the power rack, especially when I'm really trying to overload, and like I said, the hammer strength is a nice addition, whether you do it before or after your primary bench lifting work. Like the hammer strength, you can just like really burn it out, and you can do all these like sort of like partials, like from the bottom, even when you're too burned to go all the way out. And when I do that, I really feel the muscles in the chest really working big time, overload for some reason. So I'm deciding to stick with hammer strength machines, just on that, like with the hammer strength, what was I gonna say? I like to bring my hands in as close as I can, actually, to the handles. I don't like to have them out. I like to have them right on the edge there. For some reason, that's a lot more comfortable to me. I find if my hands are out much further, it feels too strainful on my shoulders. But my range of motion overall seems to be a little bit more rangy on the hammer strength, though. And rather, of course, you can't really arc, but I do something that's maybe the equivalent of arcing. It's like a hammer strength arc, if you will. Like I actually stand up. I don't just have my butt on the seat. I actually stand up a little bit, make myself taller, because it feels a lot more comfortable for me. Like I feel like I'm locked in a lot better, and I can drive my whole body a lot better. Like I can do it just much better. Like I'm not limited. I can really burst through barriers, using that type of technique / method, So yeah, leave it to me to always come out with these, these modifying methods of things, I mean, that's also with, like on tricep press downs. I like to really like put my whole body into it a lot. I like to load it up and really get into it, you know. I don't like to be really isolated with the tricep press downs. You know, I like to vary between the rope and the upside down triangle thing, whatever, where it's like shaped like a pyramid. You know, that thing. I can use more weight with that thing than the rope. But with the rope, like, I can get a better tense at the bottom, I find. But with the pyramid, triangle, pyramid, whatever, the metal thing, apparatus attachment thing, I can really, really load up the machine with that, and I can really, like, I like to kind of use my whole body, you know, not with every single rep, but yeah, I basically like to incorporate cheating even with tricep press downs. You know, it's almost like I'm turning it into a compound movement, but it just feels natural to me. Like, if I just try to be really isolative, it just doesn't feel too natural to me. I just feel way too limited. And, like, they have a preacher curl, which I've tried. It's a free weight type, and that thing really felt unnatural to me. It really did. I didn't like the feel of that. I used to go to the Y, and they had a nice preacher curl machine. I used to use that a lot, and that felt natural. That locked you into a nice, comfortable groove, but this free weight one, just really awkward to use. It feels like you can really get injured on it, you know, basically. What else do I do there? Seated rows. I've done them there, but I have to really be leery about them because I've had serious issues with my right shoulder, especially in the rear, like the rear deltoid, my right arm. Like, for a while I was combining rows with overheads, and that really aggravated my shoulder. Like, it was pretty bad for like a few weeks. And I had to even lay off swimming for a whole week, and it was pretty terrible. It really crippled me up. I was like working, just using one arm to lift things. I could barely use my right arm. It was terrible. So I got to be really, really leery. Even, like, I'm even reluctant to just do like the seated cable row. Like I used it recently, but I was going super light. Whereas in the past, I'd go really heavy, but I just try to like flex my muscles while I'm doing it, try to intensify it naturally through my own body, through means of my own, you know, my own, like tensing up, you know, like isometric muscle tension incorporated with the movement. Like, that's the way I have to approach the seated row, and I'll never again combine overheads with the seated rows. And even with overheads, like, I'm not sure if it was really them or really the rowing. I think it was a combination, but I tend to think that overheads, I think, are a little bit worse for my rear deltoid for some reason. But it should be the rowing that would be worse. But I wasn't going heavy enough on them, so I'm tending to be more inclined towards the overhead lifting was what was the main culprit for really messing up my shoulder. So I'm just like straying away from overhead lifting. Like, I might eventually get back into them, but it's going to be like super light weights. And I'll probably start out with just doing side lateral raises, you know, like I was doing. And then my shoulder was feeling more built up from them. And then I was starting to mix in overheads, and I was combining seated rows because it seemed like shoulders and back went together really good. They complemented each other. But I can never do that anymore. You know, it's just too much strain on my right rear deltoid. But anyway, I gotta cut it.